January 1st. Better to know a few things which are good and necessary than many things which are useless and mediocre. What a great treasure can be hidden in a small, selected library, a company of the wisest and the most deserving people from all the civilized countries of the world for thousands of years, can make the results of their studies and their wisdom available to us. The thought, which they might not even reveal to their best friends, is written here in clear words for us, people from another century. Yes, we should be grateful for the best books, for the best spiritual achievements in our lives. Ralph Waldo Emerson. There are too many mediocre books which exist just to entertain your mind. Therefore, read only those books which are accepted without doubt as good. Lucius Annaeus Seneca. Read the best books first, otherwise you'll find you do not have time. Henry David Thoreau. The difference between real material poison and intellectual poison is that most material poison is disgusting to the taste, but intellectual poison, which takes the form of cheap newspapers or bad books, can unfortunately sometimes be attractive. January 2nd. One of the worst prejudices known is held by the majority of the so-called scholars of our time, who claim that a person can live without faith. Throughout the centuries, in every age, people have wanted to know, or at least have a vague idea about the source, the beginning, and the final purpose of their existence. Religion satisfies this requirement and makes clear those connections which unite all people as brothers, revealing to them that they have the same source of origin, the same task for their lives, and the same general final goal. Giuseppe Mazzini. The essential meaning of every religion is to answer the question, why do I live? And what is my attitude to the limitless world which surrounds me? There is not a single religion, from the most sophisticated to the most primitive, which does not have as its basis the definition of this attitude of a person to the world. At the heart of all religions lies a single unifying truth. Let Persians bear their tawhids, Jews wear their caps, Christians bear their cross, Muslims bear their sickle moon, but we have to remember that these are all only outer signs. The general essence of all religions is love to your neighbor, and that this is requested by Manuf, Zoroaster, Buddha, Moses, Socrates, Jesus, St. Paul, and Mohammed alike. Ewald Flugel. The life of a person without faith is the life of an animal. January 3rd. Those who know the rules of true wisdom are baser than those who love them. Those who love them are baser than those who follow them. Chinese proverb. The most important question to keep before ourselves at all times is this: do we do the right thing? During this short period of time which we call our life, do our acts conform to the will of the force that sent us into the world? Do we do the right thing? When I am in difficult circumstances, I ask God to help me, but it is my duty to serve the Lord, and not His to serve me. As soon as I remember this, my burden becomes lighter. We have to fulfill honestly and irreproachably the work destined for us. It does not matter whether we hope that we will become angels someday or believe that we have originated from slugs. John Ruskin. Just imagine that the purpose of your life is your happiness. Only then life becomes a cruel and senseless thing. You have to embrace what the wisdom of humanity, your intellect and your heart tell you, that the meaning of life is to serve the force that sent you into the world. Then life becomes a constant joy. January 4th. Even if we don't want to, we can't help but feel our connection to the rest of mankind. We are connected by industry, by trade, by art, by knowledge, and most importantly, by our common mortality. Kind people help each other even without noticing that they are doing so, and evil people act against each other on purpose. Chinese proverb. Every person has his burden. One cannot live without the support of other people. Therefore, we have to support each other with consolation, advice, and mutual warnings. From the Book of Divine Thoughts. All the children of Adam are members of the same body. When one member suffers, all the others suffer as well. If you are indifferent to the sufferings of others, you do not deserve to be called a man. Muslih ud-Din Sadi. The history of mankind is the movement of humanity toward greater and greater unification. January 5th. Sometimes the damage done by our words is obvious and sometimes it isn't, but the damage is not any smaller for our not being able to see those people who suffer from our words. A gunshot wound may be cured, but the wound made by a tongue never heals. Persian wisdom: if any man offend not in word, the same is a perfect man. Even so the tongue is a little member, and boasteth great things. Behold, how great a matter a little fire kindleth. James 3:2-5. When you hear people speak about the viciousness of other people, do not share in pleasure by discussing these issues. When you hear about the bad deeds of people, do not listen to the end, and try to forget what you have heard. When you hear about the virtues of other people, remember them and tell them to others. Eastern wisdom. Do listen to disputes, but be not so involved in disputes yourself. Nikolai Gogol. I said, I will take heed to my ways, that I sin not with my tongue. Psalms 39:1. Be afraid to destroy the unity of people by stirring bad feelings amongst them against another with your words. January 6th. It's important to strive to do good, and even more important, to strive to abstain from evil. Abstention should be a habit in your life. It should support you in your virtues. For he who is resolute in goodness, there is nothing that he could not overcome. Lao Tzu. Put at least half of your energy into making yourself free of empty wishes, and very soon you will see that in so doing you will receive much greater fulfillment and happiness. After Epictetus. God tests everyone, one with wealth, another with poverty. A rich man is tested in whether he would extend an arm of support to those who need it. A poor man in whether he would bear all his sufferings without discontent and with obedience. The Talmud. I will call the right groom, he who can stop his rage, which goes as fast as the fastest chariot. Other people have no power. They just hold the reins. Dhammapada, a book of Buddhist wisdom. No matter how many times you'll aim to achieve victory over your passions, do not give tip. Every effort weakens the power of passion and makes it easier to gain victory over it. January 7th. Kindness is necessary in relationships with people. If you are not kind to a person, you are not fulfilling your major obligation. You have to respect every person, no matter how miserable or ridiculous he or she may be. You should remember that in every person lives the same spirit which lives in us. After Arthur Schopenhauer. Do not be cruel of heart to those who are tempted, but try to console them just as you would like to be comforted. From the Book of Divine Thoughts. Do not postpone for tomorrow what you can do today. Do not force another person to do what you can do by yourself. Pride costs more than all that is necessary for food, drink, shelter, or dress. We suffer so much thinking about what could have happened, but not about what has actually happened. If you lose your temper, count up to 10 before you do or say anything. If you haven't calmed down, then count to 100. And if you have not calmed down after this, count up to 1,000. After Thomas Jefferson. The kinder and the more thoughtful a person is, the more kindness he can find in other people. Kindness enriches our life. With kindness, mysterious things become clear, difficult things become easy, and dull things become cheerful. January 8th. Christian teaching is so simple that even small children can understand its meaning. Those people cannot understand it, and only those who want to seem and to be called Christians without being real Christians. Buddha said, "A man who starts to live for his soul is like a man who brings a lantern into a dark house. The darkness disappears at once. You have to be persistent in this, and your soul will have this light." Christ expressed all his teachings in his last commandment: "Love each other as I loved you. Everyone will see that you are my disciples if you love each other." He did not say, "if you believe," but "if you love." Faith can change with time because our knowledge is constantly changing. Love, on the contrary, never changes. Love is eternal. My religion is love to all living beings. In order to fulfill Christianity, we have to destroy its perversions and restore its purity. January 9th. Knowledge is real knowledge only when it is acquired by the efforts of your intellect, not by memory. Only when we forget what we were taught do we start to have real knowledge. Henry David Thoreau. A constant flow of thoughts expressed by other people can stop and deaden your own thought and your own initiative. That is why constant learning softens your brain. Stopping the creation of your own thoughts to give room for the thoughts from other books reminds me of Shakespeare's remark about his contemporaries who sold their land in order to see other countries. Arthur Schopenhauer. A thought can advance your life in the right direction only when it answers questions which were asked by your soul. A thought which was first borrowed from someone else and then accepted by your mind and memory does not really much influence your life, and sometimes leads you in the wrong direction. Read less, study less, but think more. Learn, both from your teachers and from the books which you read, only those things which you really need and which you really want to know. January 10th. The basis of all education is the establishment of our relationship to the beginning of all things and the conclusions about our behavior which may be drawn from this. But whosoever shall offend one of these little ones who believe in me, it were better for him that a millstone were hanged about his neck, and that he were drowned in the depth of the sea. Matthew 18:6-7. As we bring up our children, we have to remember that we are caretakers of the future. By improving their education, we improve the future of mankind, the future of this world. After Immanuel Kant, I think that the major obligation of parents and educators is to give children an understanding of the divine beginning that exists within them. William Ellery Channing. Religious upbringing is the basis of all education.